Okay, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started in a quick minute, just as the panelists all get mic'd up. I'd love to introduce our panel quickly. We are going to be discussing fostering innovation by removing barriers to entrepreneurship and harnessing DEI and technology. So I will quickly introduce myself and then invite the panelists up to introduce themselves, and we'll get on our way. So my name is Shayna. I'm the head of partnerships at WeTravel. It's a booking and payment platform for multi-day travel businesses. I'm also the vice chair on the board of directors for Tourism Cares, which is a nonprofit based in North America that helps support tour operators, small and large, and teaches them how to travel responsibly and how you can work with local suppliers to do that. So if I could bring all the panelists up on stage, and then you can all introduce yourselves. Got a nice full panel today, so this will be fun. Yes. Okay, so we'll have time for some Q&A at the end, so hold all of your questions, but we'll definitely keep some time for that. So let's start with Erika. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Shayna. It's lovely being here, by the way. Last year I was in the audience, so for me it's like, wow, amazing. I'm Erika Santi, and I'm one of the founders of WeRoad. We do organize group travel experiences for millennials all over the world. We started our business bringing Italians abroad. And then we expanded to the Spanish market, the UK, the French, and the German one, moving around 50,000 passengers a year worldwide. So this is it.
Wonderful. And Julia?
Yes, good morning. I'm Julia Bue-Said from Advantage Travel Partnership. We're a business network of independent travel companies, principally travel agents and travel management companies based in the UK, but we're also affiliated to a global network. In terms of our size and scale, globally it's about 11 billion. Quite a large organisation, but our principal ethos is all about how do we service, how do we support and help foster relationships with our independent travel companies to help them be better businesses.
Oh, wonderful. Iris.
Hi, everybody. My name's Iris Serbanescu, and I run Women's Work Tourism Business Accelerator. We're focused on growing the businesses of women and non-binary entrepreneurs who are either tour operators, travel agents, some tech companies, and hotels. We do this through a 12-week program that includes education, mentorship, and community. Thank you to our amazing sponsors. We actually get 30% of all the spots in each cohort sponsored for folks who are BIPOC, LGBTQ+, and or disabled to attend the program at a fraction of the cost. And it's been a year and a half. We've had 30 entrepreneurs go through the program from over 14 countries. And I'm so thrilled today to be here to speak to you about the state of female entrepreneurship.
Wonderful. Vanessa.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Karel. I am the founder of Greether. We are a travel platform that helps women travel safer around the world by connecting female travelers to verified local greeters who can show you around destinations according to whatever you are looking to do in those places. So it is kind of a win-win because you get to empower women while you are reducing your safety risk and having an amazing and very sustainable focused experience. We've been recently named as one of the foremost innovative travel companies by the UN World Travel Organization. And we have officially expanded to over 100 countries and 600 cities. So pretty much every touristic hotspot that you are wishing to travel to, we are there.
Amazing. Yeah, and Noreen. Wrap it up.
How do I follow that?
Oh, you got to follow all of them.
Hi, my name is Noreen. I'm a multi-award-winning medical doctor, life coach, and wellness travel consultant, and the founder of What the Doctor Recommends. What the Doctor Recommends is a digital health startup and the world's first doctor-led wellness travel consultancy that prescribes travel to combat the rising rates of stress and occupational burnout that's ravaging the workforce in a nutshell.
Yeah, not bad, huh? You did good. Okay, well then let's jump right in. So I'm actually going to start with Julia. Can you give us a quick overview of the landscape of female entrepreneurship? I know you just did some studies within the Advantage Group, so would love to hear what you found out from that.
Yeah, of course. So we surveyed our network recently, really ahead of this, to try and understand actually how they felt about entrepreneurship and what were some of the barriers that they came across. Across the membership, so this was just the UK membership. So we have 700 locations across the UK. 32% of them of those locations are led by women. So 32% of our network are women leaders. And 50% of them felt that actually they found it quite difficult in some areas to get the support they needed. But what was really interesting, something like 95% of the members we surveyed, the leaders that we surveyed, they actually saw that post-COVID, technology has really enabled them to take the business forward. And it actually broke down a lot of barriers that were there pre-COVID. So I think the panel before, the lady was talking about how we've achieved success through COVID. And whilst we don't want to go back to thinking about it, the travesty that it created in some aspects brought out a huge amount of positivity and learning. So they overwhelmingly, the members we surveyed absolutely felt, the women in particular felt that technology post-COVID really helped them to spearhead their business forward. And it's now about how they use that to positively engage with their customers, how they use it in their marketing, etc., and how it helps to drive their business forward. So really investing more on the technology now.
That's wonderful to hear. And I mean, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs on the stage today. How have you found that technology has helped you as a business moving forward? Have you found it difficult to implement? Have you found it that it's helped accelerate your business, or any other insights that you can give? Because of course, we've got a lot of female entrepreneurs in the room today.
Yep. I'm happy to take that one.
Yes, please.
Go for it.
So what we've seen in the program is around automation and automating. That's become so important for especially small business owners, solopreneurs who aren't ready to scale their team, who don't have budget to hire. We always say automate before you delegate. So we've had a lot of entrepreneurs actually have lots of success with multiple different systems in their businesses that enables them, frees up their time to do what they're best at so they can stay in their zone of genius and use technology as that main driving factor. And of course, technology has helped us bring together entrepreneurs from all over the world. Like we're able to run this whole thing on Zoom, which is incredible. We don't have to be in one room for this 12-week program where a lot of accelerators are in person, but this one is virtual. And I think that breaks down so many barriers to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. Erika.
Maybe building into what Iris was saying for startuppers, so people that want to start a business from scratch, no coding, low coding are the basis to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And especially it gives people the flexibility to test out things, right? A/B test without wasting too much time in developing software that is stable and can be modified, and it's very, very expensive, and we know it, right? So bringing into the funding team or in the bunch of people that start up a business, somebody that has this kind of knowledge, because I don't have, it's fundamental for a business to be flexible and make it through the first stage of life. I mean, in travels, but also in all the other industries.
Yeah, Vanessa, how have you found that it's helped your business?
I think technology has been the hardest challenge building my company. Mm-hmm. And I come from a non-technical background. I'm a non-technical founder, so I really know what my business needs tech-wise, but I couldn't code if my life depended on it. So it's been a challenge, to be honest. And what I have to do, I had to learn how to ask for help. And I think that's really step number one for an entrepreneur is ask for help, because there's people out there that will be like, I believe in you and what you can do. And actually our first MVP, which is like the beta testing of apps, was built by someone who met me and they were like, you know what, I want to see what you can do with technology, and they helped me build that. So I really think that there is ways to find resources, but it's not an easy task. And I'm glad we're here to talk about it today, because I believe that there's a lot of women who have an amazing idea, but they don't know how to get started, you know? So there's a lack of resources out there, or like knowing about the resources.
Yeah. Have you found, I know we've talked about kind of building your own technology, but what about existing technologies that are out there?
Yeah. I was actually going to say, because, it can seem really harrowing when you think about technology, and you're thinking about AI and VR and things like that. But I suppose for me, last month, actually what the doctor recommends was listed in the Evening Standard as one of the top 10 doctor-led health techs that's helping to save the NHS. And the title seems grand, but when I look at the tech that I use in my small startup, it's even things as minute as Zoom, as you mentioned, Iris. And I think sometimes when we see blockchain and AI and VR, it can make us, especially when you're very early stage, feel as though, oh, how can I access this? But I think simplifying and talking about how can I actually use technology that's available to me, like Zoom, like using Otter to transcribe your any videos that you have. How can I implement that into the customer experience, and how can I utilize really simple tools before I even start thinking about all of these other emerging technologies to really streamline my processes, and as you said, help you scale a little bit faster before you have to take on new members of your team.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, sorry, can I say? I think one of the things that we find with a lot of the members that we work with, a lot of entrepreneurs that we work with, is that they've realised they've started up a business because they're brilliant at one thing. Most of the time, you're really good at one thing, and they've realised they can't be great at everything. So, knowing where to look for, and our network brings people together so they can share ideas, they can talk about what's worked, they can see what somebody else done, but learning where to go. And I think they're learning not to be afraid not to ask. If you're asking, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. Isn't
Exactly.
it? And surrounding yourself with all those people that can help you on that journey. So. And I think what happens with, in my experience, what's happened, particularly for a lot of women, we feel like we have to have all the right answers. Mm-hmm. So
yes.
For a lot of our business owners who are starting new businesses, who are quite new in their journey, they think they need to know everything, and actually they're realising now it's a strength to know that you don't. And it's strength to know where to go, where to get those answers.
Right, and when to outsource. And I think one thing that I would say from having a startup is that sense of community, almost with accelerators or even women in travel, because as you were mentioning, if you don't know what's out there or you don't know about a resource, how can you implement it into your business? Mm-hmm. So actually, rather than being stuck and sort of thinking, oh, I don't have all the answers, really connecting with accelerators or communities where there is that kind of diversity of thought, and other people might be more technically able to be able to give you a few tips that help you get off the ground a bit faster.
Well, I think you kind of reminded me of something really beautiful about this industry that's not necessarily across all industries. And it's how, and especially over the last few years, I found it was how we all come together and how we support each other. I was just at a conference in Norway, and you're talking the largest of largest brands were represented there, and they were all sharing what mistakes they've made in the past, what they've done well, how they did it. I used to work for Intrepid Travel, and during the pandemic, launching, like, how do you even get started? How do you even get started on your sustainability journey, right? From one of the largest businesses, but breaks it down for a business that is, one person, a yoga retreat instructor, to, a large enterprise-sized business. And I think that that's something to remind you all about this industry. I think we know that sometimes deep down, but just to remind ourselves of everybody wants to help everybody in travel, and it goes from the smallest to the largest of businesses. And I think that is a beautiful thing within this industry to continue to remember. Bringing it back a little just to technology, I would love, again, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs in the room. We've talked about Zoom, but what other pieces of technology do you use in your business that you've found incredibly helpful as like a bit of a takeaway?
Honestly, HubSpot has been amazing for me. I'm a huge CRM nerd, and I've done research on all of them. And for a small business, HubSpot, like, you can automate your emails, you can automate tasks, communications. That, to me, automating communications is so key, because it takes so much energy to type an email and to think about it, like, from the beginning every single time of what you're going to say to this person. But when you can create templates and get things going through a process, you're golden. So I love HubSpot.
Yep.
I don't get commission from selling it, don't worry.
I feel like I'm a bit of a tech junkie. I'm always hopping from one. I went to HubSpot, then I did ActiveCampaign, then I went to Wix. But exactly as you said, I think it is looking at some of these systems, especially if you're looking at your marketing and sales, how can you streamline your workflow so that you're not having to replicate, and instead of being in your zone of genius, you know, every day you're sending an email to that person and this person, you can just have AI or a piece of tech like HubSpot or ActiveCampaign be able to create a template, and that automatically will notify you when you have a booking. You automatically get an email sent out to your customer, and you're able to kind of remove yourself from the day-to-day operations so you can focus on what you love best, which is sort of servicing your customers.
Anyone else?
I am a huge fan of Asana. I also not sponsored, but Asana has helped me be a good project leader, project manager, and when I'm away on conferences like this, my team can still leave me notes, and I can follow up, and I think it's a great tool. I mean, there's other ones like Trello and Monday, I think.
Airtable.
And like the freemium versions are good enough, to be honest. And there's also software called Loom. I don't know if you have heard of it, but we've been using it a lot. So especially if I'm traveling abroad or my team is in another country, time zones, they just leave me a video, and it makes it so much easier to explain something complex.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jumping in the conversation, I think that what you said before is super true, the fact that the travel industry help each other in growing. And I think also from a technological perspective, a big chunk of the travel industry is catering the need of technology in the industry. So for many people, for example, that work in my field, that is like group travels or touring in tour operating world, is packed of providers that enable you to operate tours, because it's a super heavily operational business, right? And starting from scratch, doing operations of a tour operator just puts off a lot of people that want to jump in the industry, right?
You've got a lot of layers.
Yes, it's super, super complex. And so sometimes when I talk to investors and stuff, they say, why did you end up doing a tour operator? You know, it's heavy in terms of operations and stuff. But I think that in order not to have people fly away from an industry that apparently seems so complex, also partnering together between travel tech companies and companies that are more focused on providing new targets and new market with incredible opportunities, I think it's also success for the mutual growth. And understanding which are the partnering crimes that you want along your entrepreneurial path could make the path a successful one for maybe more companies than yours, right? So having a mutual goal, it's always beneficial for the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you want to add, Julie?
Yeah, it's a slightly different dimension in the sector I work in. So, VCs that I speak to, one of the things that they will say all the time for a lot of travel agents operating, again, particularly in the UK, it is very multi-layered, it's very complex. You've got, regulation over here, you've got capital tied up over here. It's a real difficult setup. But actually what we found is the growth in our sector has been in, somebody mentioned outsourcing. So where you outsource your back office, where you outsource your licenses, where you outsource all that operational headache that actually as entrepreneurs in the main you don't want to focus on. You want to sell, you want to be doing marketing. So I am sponsored on that because that's what my business does as well. So I have a vested interest. But just to illustrate the point, there are managed service solutions now which really help business owners. Plug and play, basically. You can plug and play and do what you love doing and not have to get embroiled in all that back end complexity and distraction that you don't really kind of want to do. But obviously it's a key part of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love all the technologies you brought up. I'm a Monday.com fan and a HubSpot fan, so I live in those. But I think something else to consider as well is that these technologies speak to one another. And I know, coming from a tech company, we offer Zapier to our clients, and Zapier, you kind of zap information from one system to another. If you've never heard of it, highly recommend you take a look at it. Again, they're only paying me a little bit to talk about them, but
like you want panel.
Exactly. You want your accounting system to be able to talk to your booking system, to be able to talk to you want the systems to be able to talk to one another as well, because you inevitably do have to use separate systems. There's never going to be that one system unless it's homegrown, home built, that's going to have absolutely everything that you require for your business. And Zapier, I know, is one way of getting your systems to talk to one another and almost integrate them without integrating them into each other. So,
just to add, from the research we did, that was a really key point in terms of our women leaders across our network, and what they found is all of a sudden, the technology element could really enable them to drive their business forward. Again, without wanting to keep going back to COVID, in COVID, everyone was displaced. People weren't around an office. So all of a sudden, you've had to streamline a business, but in building back a business, you're able to do it in a more streamlined manner. And technology is at the heart of it now. Even for a lot of our entrepreneurs are bricks and mortar, high street businesses. Yeah. So very different dimension to a lot of companies here. So even, I say, in that world, technology is driving and enabling them to be better, more profitable businesses.
Beautiful.
One maybe thing on this, it's also super important to understand whether technology is an enabler to speed up the growth or the bootstrap of a business, and when it becomes instead the core asset of the business. Because when this is the case, and when you open up to external capital or investor, that turns into higher evaluations also of your company, right? So you also need to think as an entrepreneur whether the path you want to go down is one or the other, because technology is something that you actually be evaluated on, right? And so the amount of technology that you're able to bring in your workforce, example.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you kind of touched on it, Noreen, but do you have any additional insights you would want to add into kind of like emerging technologies? And then we'll go to the diversity side of things.
Yeah, sure. You can think from blockchain, which is, this emerging technology that's trying to basically get booking systems that could be fraudulent checked, to things like AI. We're kind of living in this AI boom at the moment, which is really exciting, I think, because even in my business, and I'm sure that for a lot of other people, you can think, where can I actually integrate AI? But when it even comes to testing emails, like let's say you've got AB, and to coming up with ideas to what to post onto social media, to coming up with templates where you just implement a few little words onto ChatGPT, and it can kind of spark your creativity. To even looking at VR, I think VR is really exciting actually when we think about the travel industry, to having that bridge between imagination and reality. So I can sort of foresee a lot of destinations actually offering virtual reality tours of either hotels or the destination, so that actually people who have not even booked, they'll be able to get a bit of that experience and actually be able to get that sense of well-being just from seeing their portfolio in a destination. So I think that's really exciting.
I just wanted to say something that you made me think of. I think it's really important that we are all aware, especially all of us are working with global travel. Technology is so different depending where you are. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, technology is not the same for us than for some women in Sri Lanka or Vietnam or Peru, So when all of us entrepreneurs and you who work at big companies in travel are thinking about how to implement technology, you also have to think about them and how to make that technology accessible. Because, for example, for us, we are dealing with women in all parts of the world, and sometimes even jumping on a Zoom call is really hard for them. Mm-hmm. So, while yes, it's really cool that AI is the hot topic of the country, of the year, and probably the next decade, but we also have to think about all of those who are not as privileged as we are, and how we can keep building a good UX flow for them so they can be integrated into this as we are expediting on AI, VR, all these things. There's still a lot of people-enabled problems that we need to solve first.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else or no? All right. Okay, so I'm going to pivot a little bit and talk more about the diversity side, and I'm going to actually start with Iris. is do you view diversity as an innovator, and why?
Good question. So I think when we talk about diversity, we need to distinguish between inherent diversity and acquired diversity. So inherent diversity, obviously traits that you're born with that are inherent to you. Acquired diversity is traits that you acquire through your life experience, living in different countries, traveling, all these different things. So what I've seen in the travel industry in my decade, crazy that it's been 10 years that I've worked in the industry, is that we have a lot of acquired diversity in leadership and ownership in the industry, but we don't have a lot of inherent diversity in leadership and ownership, which is where the money and power in the industry lie. We've all heard the stat, right? 60% of the industry is made up of women, but less than 8% of board positions are held by women. So what's happening is a lot of decisions are being made at the top by people that think the same. There's a lot of sameness, and sameness breeds complacency. There's not a lot of things being challenged. There aren't different conversations that are being had. And that leads to much of the same decisions made over and over and over again. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm not, Harvard Business Review over here. This is just like what I've seen in the industry. And by default, diversity, so if sameness breeds complacency, diversity breeds innovation. And what's really cool is that when you give diverse folks power, or they create their own power by becoming entrepreneurs, we see incredible ideas that service unmet needs that the more homogenous groups could not possibly understand because they don't have the same inherent lived experience as these niches and these segments. So speaking personally through women's work, as I mentioned, we've had 30 folks go through the program. The ideas that have come out of this program, the businesses that I've seen succeed, some of the most incredible ones have been from women of color, LGBTQ women, people with inherently diverse traits. I'll give you an example. There was a woman in our program in Kenya who is a queer woman, and she launched a business for queer women in Kenya who want to travel to the rest of Africa. And so that's quite niche, right? We're like, is there a market for this? But her business in 6 months went from 8 departures a year to 18 departures a year, basically sold out. So she has an amazing success story because she's serviced a need that a certain underserved market had, and that need was not being met by the general industry. Another example is a woman who started a business for queer LGBTQ people that are interested in scuba diving and motorcycling trips around the world. So she started a tour operator specifically with this niche. And again, she started it out of her own frustration as a queer woman, not being able to compete with queer men, even gay men in the industry. That was, again, very much the people in power in the industry, even though we all come from different levels of power and privilege and whatnot. So all that to say, diversity is 100% a necessary key to innovation, and especially necessary for us as an industry if we want to continue providing richer and more varied experiences for the customers that we serve.
Anyone want to try to top that?
Wow. I don't know how.
I would like to add something real quick. I agree with you completely, and I'm super excited that you're doing this because I have been needing programs like that when I began Greether, and I was recently part of the Expedia Accelerator innovation program, and all the startups that were also my peers in the program are dealing with a lot of things that are like queer and travel, Black travel, people with disabilities. And I think that all of these minority groups, I mean, they represent a huge part of the travel industry that hasn't been tapped on. I was recently on a panel when I was talking about Greether, and all my audience was women. And I asked them one question. I said, I have a question for you. Do you think that my company is niche? And they all say yes. And I was like, well, you're wrong. Because women represent the majority of travel spent worldwide. But I think because we have been ingrained a different picture by society, by who are the leaders of travel companies, we are thinking that, oh, women travel is niche. Oh, people with disabilities travel it's niche. It's not. It's actually need. All of us will eventually have some sort of disability when we're aging, right? Our parents will. So if we're not paying attention to these things and having people with diverse backgrounds making decisions, we're not gonna keep progressing in the industry.
Amazing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Maybe building
please.
into what Vanessa said, I totally agree that it is not niche. For example, the rise of solo traveling is witnessing it, right? So data enhance 60% of our travelers, of our WeRoaders are female, and 60% of our travel coordinators as well. And we have a super strong community within our community of LGBTQ plus members. And with our travel coordinators that are the tour leaders that accompany our groups around the world, we literally are building like the benchmark for the whole industry to grow in that direction. And as I love to say, like taking out all the barriers to accessibility to travel, right? And that's our job. So when we communicate, when we do a speech in front of people, when we design our product, having this within the strategy, it's a key because it's in the backbone of our industry at the end of the day. What we do is connecting people with culture. So what's more diverse than that, right? So it's actually not niche at all. That's my view.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, then I'm going to finish up with the last question, and then if anyone has questions from the audience, we'll take that. But I always love to leave everybody with a key takeaway. I think that that's really important, and something. What's a key takeaway or insight that you would like to share with the audience from what we've discussed today? And then we'll turn it over to them. So maybe we'll start with Noreen and then work our way to the end.
Yeah, when we're sort of talking about this fostering of innovation through diversity, equality, and technology, you know, I have a lot of lived experience in quite a lot of the different parameters coming from a medical background into travel. And I think when we're talking about diversity, just diversity of thought, that can be met through, people in leadership roles from different cultural backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds and neurodivergent people. And just encouraging any startup owners or small to medium business owners not to be afraid to employ and to really explore your workforce in terms of what they have to offer as individuals. That would be my take-home message.
I love that. Something I know we did at our business was in our very small, but when we were hiring, we took out the need for education. So it's not to say that, a lot of our staff are educated, but we don't actually put that in our job descriptions anymore. And it's incredible the amount of diverse people we actually got applying for the roles because we removed that one line, because not everybody has access to education, but yet they would be fantastic in the role that we're hiring for. So I love that.
That's awesome.
I have two things. One is if you're a decision-making level or work at a big organization and you have the opportunity to challenge them as to how you can support small businesses, people who are often overlooked in the travel industry, do it. And if you're not, I think you can also make an impact by making good travel decisions. There's many ways you can impact and do travel sustainably by looking at how you can support businesses who are having that at their core values and their mission statements. Most of our companies have that in our website, so look that up. Hopefully people are not faking them, but I think there is a lot you can do by supporting small businesses owned by women. Even if you're not an investor or decision maker, you can still contribute.
Wonderful. Iris?
This is a bit of an esoteric takeaway, but it has to do with mindset. And this is something that when I started the program, I was like, oh, we're just going to focus on education, mentorship, and community, like the mindset piece. I didn't realize how big of a player mindset was in being an entrepreneur. And what I've learned about women and how we think and how we feel about business is that we think there's like a predetermined level of what success looks like. We even saw this in the keynote this morning. Like, everyone who thinks they're successful, stand up. It's like, what does that mean? What does success look like? What we saw as a barrier to entrepreneurship or people starting businesses was that they felt they had to scale really fast, grow to $1 million in their first year, like achieve all of these milestones in order to be perceived as a successful business. But actually what we want to do is incorporate the definition of a healthy life in with our business. It's about us and who we are, especially after the pandemic, and how we're prioritizing ourselves as business owners, and not just being like, yeah, I scaled my business so quickly in the first 2 years. Isn't that amazing? But I'm a total mess and I burnt out 3 times. That's what happened to me. I'm talking from like actual personal experience. I burnt out 3 times in my first year and a half of business. I'm just kind of getting over it right now. So personally speaking, to me, it's not success unless we're also successful as people and take care of ourselves. So that's my takeaway is like question your definitions and support people when they decide they want to start a business that doesn't look like the kind of tech scale up that everybody else is starting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So I honestly agree with everything, and I suppose just trying to add a slightly different dimension, I guess. I think that the point of success, I think, is a really important one. I think, just because everyone's level of success is at a different rate. So, defining yourself to be successful, the reality is when you start up a new business, no matter what your definition of success is, it's not easy. So I think, being mentally prepared when you're on that journey, that it's tough, you're going to come against barriers, and kind of tying that into my second bit, it's just surrounding yourself with great people, whether they're women or not, or men or whatever. It's making sure you've got lots of different diverse thinking around you, because it's almost, being an entrepreneur or a leader is a really, really lonely place in tough times, let alone in good times. So making sure you've got that support around you in your business and kind of and your personal life as well. I think, those two kind of are really important.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually doing a workout class the other day, and one of the things that the instructor was talking about is, you set goals for yourself. Doesn't mean you can't change those goals as you go, right? You set goals and you feel like, you have to burn out to achieve them, but it is okay to change them as you change, as your business changes. So not to be afraid of doing that, which I think kind of speaks to what you were all saying.
Yeah, definitely. And building into what Julia said, I wasn't born an entrepreneur, basically. But right now, I can't but be one. And at the very early days, having 2 male allies helped me a lot to be valued or feel valued or go beyond the imposter, let's say, paradigm that we discussed before. But as soon as you go out there, you need events like this that can inspire you to go beyond, because it's going to be tough, because as soon as you get out of your startup bubble, it's going to be tough, as Julia said. So there's going to be barrier, and you need people to help you get out of it, and just raise your head a bit, because us as women, I think, we're like under the hood working hard to make it happen, right? And I see a lot of nods. So remember to take a little bit of time to step back and praise yourself for what you've done, and look at yourself here today.
Absolutely. All right, on that note, we've got about 5 minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
Can I make a point and ask a question?
If you must, yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Hi, I'm Becky Harris. I've been a mentor with Iris and think she's incredible. I think you're all incredible. My quick point was on about help and helping women. It wasn't mentioned, but using outsourcing, iWorker and Upwork, but choosing women. So we have a couple of women, one in the Philippines, one in Nigeria, who work with us, and I just thought that was worth mentioning if people want help, but they don't have great budgets like me. Second question was diversity, age. So I'm in my 50s, and I think there's a lot of women who come out of a family, kids leave home, might be looking for work again and finding it really hard. Do you have any comments on, I don't know, how businesses can help? Is that great to have women of age, and what can businesses do to encourage women and support them to come back into the workforce?
We have 2 volunteers, Greether, who are women who pivoted in their careers late in life, They're, I think, close to their 50s, and they just wanted experience. And I was like, please do help, when you're an entrepreneur and you're like, I will take any help. But actually, I was really excited that they had this fresh mind, that they were really passionate about trying to make a change in their career, and that if they could, have some sort of way to show a portfolio by helping us, and by us helping them build their portfolio, I was like, yes, let's do it. And then from that, they have landed jobs now. So it's really exciting that we have the opportunity to sometimes maybe give those chances to people who are starting out or who are going back to the workforce. Yeah.
I think the thing that so as Advantage, as kind of the head office, if you like, what we've done is we've moved from a office-based business, so I'm a small business, we've got 80 full-time staff, a small, office environment, to remote. And that in one aspect sounds quite basic, but we did that obviously after COVID. But what it's done is it's taken down any barriers. So both geographically, but also from an age point of view. I've now got a real diverse mix of people in my business that actually there are no barriers. I don't care how old you are, I don't care what you look like, I don't care where you live. What are your skills? Back to the point you made about your CV, what are your skills? What talent can you bring for me in the business? Brilliant. That's the single lens that I can look at employing people in now, and it's dramatically changed how we recruit. So that's what I'd be encouraging, where I know practicalities aren't always possible for everyone, but that's what I'd be absolutely encouraging anyone to do, because the dimension it brings, the benefit it's brought to our business is quite phenomenal.
Any other questions? Oh, great.
There's another question over there too.
Okay.
And it's from an ally over there.
We'll get that question, then we'll come back to Alessandra.
Hi, thank you very much. Brilliant discussion so far. It's really, really fantastic to see the panel and the panelists actually digging deep and bringing out some of the issues to innovation. One quick question. We've talked about, it's about harnessing, removing the barriers to entrepreneurship and harnessing DEI and technology. Something which I missed, which was not very clear to me, we look at the global south, that's where the vast majority of women entrepreneurs, for example, live. And these are micro, small, and medium businesses. These are businesses which are not tech savvy on using those big apps we've just mentioned out there. So is there anything you think can be done to connect your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, and transmit to those down there? Well, there are tech challenges as well, but I'm sure with easy fixes, those connections can be made. It's about co-creation, it's about inclusion, right? So how do you think we can start reflecting on bringing in those unsaid, unheard, unspoken voices from the global south in this debate? Thank you.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to?
I mean, it's a really big question.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a
very long, a very big topic there. But we're sitting at this International Women in Travel and Tourism Forum, brought to us by Women in Travel, who do a phenomenal job of reinvesting resources into women in travel and tourism who might not have the accessibility or the means to be able to sort of market themselves to wider audiences. So supporting those more kind of local startup women-owned businesses. And another thing is also mentorship. Could be something that, as a solopreneur, it's not something that I'm doing at the moment, but it's something I've thought about, sort of partnering one-to-one or even using corporate social responsibility budgets. Anyone who's a little bit further along than myself, to look at how you can have these charitable arms that can reinvest into opening up opportunities for women in the global south.
I'll piggyback on something you said, just to give a shout out to Women in Travel organization. Greether is a partner with them, and they have been amazing at providing the resource of the tour guiding academy to some of the women in our network community who want to educate themselves and have a tool to they can make money. So I think honestly it comes down to budget and the investing. So for example, Expedia is not sponsoring this, but the accelerator program that I went through with them, we have seen our highest growth these past 3 months. And I think thanks to their exposure and their mentorship and their resources, we were able to achieve this. So there is a lot of things that can be done with financial resources, especially for women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of diverse backgrounds. It will take some dollars or some euros, depending where you are, but there is a lot to be done, and investing in nonprofit organizations like Women in Travel. I am also part of Girls in Tech, who helps women get resources to get themselves technology industry jobs. I think there is a lot we can do, and even volunteering to help with these organizations.
I will say that if you don't have the budget, because a lot of businesses have no budget, right? Yep. There are a significant amount of tech platforms, and honestly, I'll use WeTravel as a prime example, where you can use it free of charge. There's a fee, a small fee, if you actually make a booking, right? So you don't actually pay unless you are getting paid or money is coming into your business. And there are a significant amount of platforms that are incredibly simple to use and that you can use so many of their features for free, right? So, and I get, you have to kind of know what's out there. And I mean, it can be simple like a Google search. It can be speaking to other people within the industry. But there are ways to invest for sure. But when you don't have that budget, there is a significant amount of resourcing out there that is free or only charges you if you're actually bringing in money. So things to think about as well when it comes to technology. It doesn't have to be expensive by any stretch.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm having to close the panel.
Yes.
Thanking everyone. I have a tough master who reminds me that we are running behind.
Yes.
And we are going to take a 10-15 minutes break and then come in. So thank you very much. Sorry for cutting across.
Thank you. You went over. Thank you. That was great. You were all fantastic. That was great. You were all fantastic. Yes. Please.
Great.